What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a full look at my PSA Sabre 11.5 inch build and breaking down every component from the front of the gun all the way to the back. The goal behind this build was pretty simple. I wanted a compact, reliable, versatile setup that could handle range days, training, and general purpose use without loading it down with unnecessary accessories. So let's start at the business end and work our way back. So, starting at the front, we have the Polonium K from Otter Labs. For me, this is one of the biggest reasons this build works so well as an all-purpose setup. The Polonium K gives me the ability to run the 11.5 inch platform suppressed while keeping the overall package relatively compact. An 11.5 inch gun already gives you a nice balance between maneuverability and useful barrel length, and adding a compact suppressor keeps that balance without turning the gun into an excessively long setup. The idea here isn't maximum performance at any one thing, it's just balance. Moving back to the gas system, I have the rifle speed adjustable gas control. This is particularly useful on a suppressed setup because adding a suppressor changes the way the rifle behaves. Having adjustable gas gives me more ability to tune the rifle around the configuration I'm running as well as the rounds that I'm using. For this build, that's important because I'm trying to create a system that works well as a complete package rather than simply throwing parts together. This is a dedicated suppressor build, so once it is tuned in, I don't plan on changing it, but having the ability to do so just makes it all the more better. Next up is the Olight Odin Mini paired with the pressure pad. This is one of those accessories that I consider essential on a general purpose setup. A weapon mounted light isn't there because it looks cool, it's there because being able to positively identify what you're looking at in low light conditions matters. The Odin Mini also keeps the setup relatively streamlined without adding a huge amount of weight out front. And then we go to the primary optic, the Holosun AEMS. For an 11.5 inch all-purpose workhorse, I really like this optic because it gives a good combination of compact footprint, durability, and a large viewing window. The larger window makes it easy to get behind the optic quickly while still keeping the overall package relatively compact. I wasn't trying to turn this into a precision rifle. I wanted something that was fast, practical, and versatile, and that's exactly where the AEMS fits into this build. We also have the Magpul MBUS backup sights. The reason I still run backup sights, even though I have a primary optic, is simple: redundancy. The AEMS is my primary sighting system, but the backup sights give me another option if I ever have an issue with the optic. They're lightweight, simple, and stay out of the way even when I'm using the primary optic. One thing you'll notice about this build is that I haven't covered every square inch of the handguard with accessories. That's intentional. I want enough equipment to make the gun useful without turning it into a 15-pound accessory rack. Light, sling, optic, that's the basic philosophy. Everything on this gun has a job. So now moving down to the controls, I have the DFCO Tiger Claw. This is a relatively small addition, but it contributes to how the rifle feels in the hand. The goal with something like this is improving the interface between the shooter and the rifle without adding unnecessary bulk. It's one of those parts that may not look like a huge change on camera, but the details add up when you put an entire setup together. Moving to the grip, we have the DFCO Kung Fu grip. Again, the focus here is ergonomics. The grip changes the way the rifle sits in my hand and gives me a setup that feels natural with the rest of the controls. And that's really the theme of this entire build. I'm not chasing the most expensive part in every category, I'm looking for components that work well together. Now we get to one of my favorite upgrades on the gun, the Geissele SSA-E X flat trigger. This is where the build gets a little more refined. The trigger is one of the few components that directly affect the shooter's interaction with the firearm every single time you press it. The flat trigger gives the trigger a different feel compared to the standard curved profile, whilst the Geissele unit gives the build a much more premium trigger system. For me, this is one of the upgrades that makes the Sabre feel less like a basic rifle and more like a purpose-built setup. Moving further back, we have the Radian Raptor LT charging handle. This is another control that gets used constantly, so it's an area where I don't mind spending a little extra money. The ambidextrous design gives me flexibility when manipulating the rifle while keeping the overall profile relatively streamlined. Again, small part, but it contributes to the overall experience. Then at the rear of the gun is the SBA 5 brace. This brace gives the rear of the pistol a much more substantial interface and complements the compact 11.5 configuration. The important thing for me is keeping the entire package compact while still having a rear setup that feels intentional rather than like an afterthought. As always, make sure your configuration complies with current federal, state, and local laws. And finally, we have the Magpul NS1 sling. This might be one of the least exciting parts of the build, but it's also one of the most practical. A sling is basically your holster for a long gun. It lets you retain the firearm while keeping your hands available when necessary, and gives you a much more practical way to carry the rifle during training or at the range. Another thing that I do like about this one is that it's adjustable, so I can adjust it, make it longer or shorter right there without having to detach anything, and it makes it just that much better. I consider a sling part of the basic setup, just not an optional accessory. So when you put everything together, here's what we have. We have the PSA Sabre 11.5 inch base rifle, the OCL Polonium K suppressor, the rifle speed gas control, Olight Odin Mini, MBUS backup sights, the Holosun AEMS optic, the DFCO Tiger Claw and Kung Fu grip, the Geissele SSA-E X flat trigger, the Radian Raptor LT charging handle, and the SBA 5 brace and Magpul sling. What I really like about this setup is that every component has a purpose. The suppressor handles signature and sound reduction. The gas system helps accommodate the suppressed configuration. The light gives me a dedicated illuminating option. The AEMS gives me a fast primary optic, while those MBUS sights provide redundancy. The DFCO parts and Geissele trigger improve the controls and shooter interface. The Radian charging handle gives me an upgraded control point. The brace and sling make the overall package more practical to handle and carry. And that's why this is my all-purpose workhorse build. It's not the lightest possible setup, it's not the most expensive possible setup, and it's definitely not covered in accessories just for the sake of having accessories. It's a balanced build where every part has a reason for being there. And honestly, that's what I think makes a good build. Not how many parts you can put on it, but how well all the parts work together. If you guys want to see this saber actually put through its paces at the range, let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed the build breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.